In project management, the distinction between fixed and variable costs refers to how these costs behave concerning the project's progress and its activities. Fixed costs are those that remain constant regardless of the duration of the task to which they are associated. These costs are incurred independently of how long the activity takes. Examples of fixed costs in project activities are such as rental of offices or temporary work sites, salaries of project administrative staff, software licenses required for project execution, depreciation of machinery or equipment, and costs of permits or certifications. Variable costs are those that depend on the duration of the associated task. In other words, they increase or decrease based on how long the activity lasts. Examples of variable costs in project activities are wages for labor hired on an hourly or daily basis, and energy consumption in construction or production equipment. Now, it is very important to clarify the distinction between fixed and variable costs is not the same as the difference between direct and indirect costs in a project. Direct costs are those that can be assigned directly to a specific activity within the project. Indirect costs are those that cannot be distributed to a specific activity but are necessary for the overall operation of the project. Some examples of indirect costs in a project are the administrative and project management costs, the utilities for the management office, general maintenance and security expenses. Examples of direct costs in a project are the materials specifically used in a project task or the wages paid to workers performing a specific task. However, direct costs can be either fixed or variable, depending on how they are structured. A labor cost example: if workers are paid for the time they spend on a specific task and the task is delayed, their wages are still a direct cost because they are linked to that task. However, the cost becomes variable because it depends on the task's duration. On the other hand, if a piece of equipment is rented exclusively for a construction phase, it is a direct cost because it is linked to a specific construction activity. It is variable if the rental is charged per day of use, meaning that if the activity is delayed due to a risk, the total cost will increase accordingly. It is fixed if the rental is paid as a flat fee regardless of the number of days used. So the key takeaway here is to focus on the duration-based costs. For project planning and cost analysis, the most relevant distinction is between fixed and variable costs based on task duration. So how to classify costs in a project? If a cost increases based on the duration of the task, it is variable. If a cost remains constant regardless of how long it takes, it is fixed. So why does this matter? Ultimately, we want to analyze how task durations and costs fluctuate together under the impact of risks. Risks and uncertainties often have a direct impact on task duration, which in turn affects costs. By correctly linking task duration and associated costs to potential risks, we ensure a realistic integration of these three critical elements: the risks, the durations, and the costs. This approach provides a better understanding of project behavior and allows for a more accurate financial and scheduling projection.